Peter, a new view for you. Hello, Peter. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Buzz. Thank you for
Hello.
letting us in. Buzz, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Great. I see we're already full house with more to come.
Yes, it's early yet.
Oh, this is fantastic. Welcome for those of us, for those of you who are new faces, and welcome back for the first time after the holidays for those we've missed the last couple months.
Oh,
Yeah. Patricia, did you get a new hairstyle? You're muted. Did you get a new hairstyle? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Gave
Maybe it
myself-
just looks particularly perky today. I did.
Jeff.
I actually found this product that allows you to shine bald heads, and I gave it a try.
Oh.
If
Well,
the glare is overwhelming, y'all let me know.
It is quite
Looks
reflective.
lovely.
I could see all the
Well-
lights in your head. It's quite amazing.
After the last meeting where my dog eats in the kitchen, and my dog is elderly and confused, so it was quite a commotion between my husband and my dog running around trying to get him to eat in the kitchen. So I've moved to the dining room, and the lighting is very harsh here, very harsh. I'm ready for my close-up now, Mr. DeMille. So if Peter and Lisa will keep me on schedule a little bit today, I appreciate it. As you know, my multitasking skills are not so great, but we are going to try to keep to the agenda as much as possible. And we'll start in a minute or two because we are relieved that hello, Officer Patchen. I'm glad you're here. We are relieved that the DRB design review meeting was canceled with the help of Caesar Zapata. So that allowed many people who would not have been here to be able to attend. So that is the hot topic, of course, in Point Richmond these days. So we'll get into that a little bit more as we get started. Hi, Norma. I'm glad to see you here. I know you have an environmental issue to bring up.
Good evening. Thank you.
Is Caesar here yet? Caesar's probably going to join after the police. He is currently my understanding is he is in the meeting with the Seacliff residents who were affected by the landslide. And so they're trying to determine when they can get back in their homes, but he's definitely coming. So we'll start with the usual agenda and wait for him to pop in. All righty.
I just heard that the Seacliff people were able to get back into their homes.
That's fantastic news. So that's breaking news from Patricia. Thank you. Yeah, that's been an inconvenience. Not that the Hyatt in Emeryville isn't lovely, but there's no place like home. We've got enough folks in here to definitely get started. I do anticipate that a lot of folks are going to jump in over the next few minutes. So Buzz will be doing his buzzy finger thing and letting everyone in. Has anybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from last meeting? And are there any questions or comments about those minutes?
no, I make a motion to approve the minutes if there are no comments.
A second.
Okay, approve. I vote yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Peter?
Okay, we're in good shape. Do I have to move? We start the meeting or can we just start?
Well, you can formally say you're calling the meeting to order. Sorry.
Okay, calling them, thanks. You know, my parliamentary procedure skills are non-existent. So we're calling the meeting to order. And we'll start with the agenda real quick with Officer, oh, hey, Caesar. Many meetings today? And Caesar, I like to confirm that you prefer the pronunciation Caesar, correct?
Yes.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make sure that your constituents on this side of the hill or hilltop are as familiar with you as those in the hilltop area. Let's get started with Sergeant Patchen. Is Lieutenant Dacius here or?
Lieutenant Decius is not here. He
Okay.
had another meeting to attend. I was hoping Officer McKinney is your he's the Monday through Thursday swing shift officer. He was supposed to attend. Unfortunately, he's tied up on an armed robbery call right now.
Oh, geez.
Okay, more important. And we love you too, and we particularly like your hairstyle.
Well, thank you.
We use the same barber, Schick and Gillette. So what do you have for us today, Sergeant Patchen?
I think I provided to Lisa the stats reports. The numbers are showing that crime's down in the Point Richmond area. I kind of showed the same. I think you guys tend to kind of like the previous 30 days compared to the 30 days prior to that. And then I do a year-to-year overview. All those are showing almost a 50% decrease in calls for service or crimes. I don't know if that's
I think you might have, I don't know if you sent it to my old city email address. I don't have it in my Prnc email. So
Lisa, will you shoot him an email from your PRNC and
yeah, I just
that'll
did.
expedite that.
He should have that.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull it up. So if I do share, if I open it up on my screen and then do share screen, it will share it with you guys, right?
It should. Buzz,
Yeah.
have you activated that he can share?
I believe.
All right,
Okay.
give me 1 sec. Well, let me try and see if I can find it.
And then what we'll
Sure.
do is once he sends that, what we can do is I'll try and coordinate with him in advance. I do keep all those on a drive for the PRNC board, but I'm happy if anybody wants a copy of that report, you're always welcome to email me and I will shoot that to you right off if you want a hard copy of it. And I will put in my chat, my email address again for everybody.
They're waiting for Sergeant.
Yeah.
While he looks something up, I'm also going to put my PRNC email in the chat. When we speak to Caesar in a little bit, I'm going to suggest that if you have a complicated issue that involves addresses or a lot of information, that you can touch on it with him, but I think it would be useful, if you email the details, so he's not trying to write things down. I know that he's got hundreds of things on his plate right now. So I just wanted to mention that. And then, of course, if you are shy or confused about it, you can just email me and I'll forward those emails to him or, as always, to the appropriate city official. And Caesar, if you get a chance, if you would put, I know that your city email may or may not be up and running yet. If you would put your preferred email in the chat as well, that would be fantastic.
Up and running, and I put it on the chat.
Thank you. Oh, there you, you are unbelievable. Thanks. Sergeant Patchen, are you back with us?
Almost. I'm just opening it up. I'm just sending it out to Lisa on the correct email, and I'm getting it opened up on my end here. So give me just 1 sec.
Yeah,
I-
sometimes when you put somebody's name in it, especially on the city's servers, it will pop in an address and you're not always.
Yeah, that's exactly what ended up happening. Was I
it
thought I
went
was
to a black
replying.
hole.
And of course, now I don't know where it saved it. Well, it's
Hi, Fran.
Jesse, it's nice to see your face again. We haven't seen it in 6 months because you usually phone in.
I unmuted
No, I don't-
myself to say hi back.
I don't, hi, Fran. Hi back. I don't phone in. I just put up another image.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. There,
here we go.
we've got it, Sergeant Patrick.
Hey,
I was having trouble getting it emailed to you. I'll get it emailed to you as soon as I log off, but this is the report. So as you can tell, this was the 30 days. This was the 12/25 to 1/25 compared to 11/25 to 12/25. So basically November to December, and then December till now. There was 14 calls for service compared to the 29 that previous 30-day cycle. So there was a 51% decrease. And then the 54% decrease compared to calls for service during that same time last year. So from basically December till now of 2022, there's 31 calls compared to the 14 that we've experienced in the last 30 days. So that was a 54% decrease. And then you get into the actual calls. These are the actual numbers for the last 30 days. If everybody interested. So the top call was for stolen vehicles, followed by vandalisms, an identity theft, some annoying telephone calls, auto burglary. There was one battery, a DUI, stolen vehicle, and a hit and run.
Thank you.
All right. And then I guess the other hot topic for you guys would be is obviously the Sea Cliff incident. I was actually the PIO for the police department for that incident. If everybody's good, I can stop sharing there and come back on. Does anybody have any questions about the stats?
Yeah,
I'd
and
like to-
again, I will share these. If anybody wants to, just shoot me an email, and as soon as I get it, I can pass it along.
This is Norma. I have a question.
Mhm.
I noticed, so this report goes through today. So over the weekend, my neighbor had to call because somebody had graciously parked in front of her driveway, blocking her garage.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what qualifies something to get on this report. Is this like actual tickets written?
This
Or-
is actual police reports generated. So if there was a
Okay.
police report generated to the call for service, this isn't necessarily going to be the report that they ran for me isn't necessarily calls for service where we responded and we weren't able to locate a crime, or that we were unable to locate what the call was about, or if no case number was drawn. For these incidents, these are the ones where an actual police report was written documenting something that occurred.
Thank you. So putting a 72-hour notice on a car would not generate a report.
It only would if the vehicle was ultimately towed. So like you'll notice
Got
there's
it.
one vehicle recovery on here. So that is a same type of report as for an abandoned car. If a case number is pulled, which there is when an abandoned car is towed, then it would be on this list, correct?
Thank you.
Sergeant, could you keep scrolling down to show the previous 30 days, please?
Sure. So that this is actually year to year. So this would be 11/25 of 22 to December 25 of 2022.
Exactly. Okay, so my neighbor's assault in her driveway would be included in that battery on person?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a quick question, and I know that this is maybe impossible for you to answer, but it's an observation, and it's something that I brought up with Chief French. There is some bit of, many residents feel that since the police are overwhelmed, that they don't call things in. Fran just mentioned catalytic converters. My neighbor's was stolen a couple of days ago. And when I encouraged them to report it, they said, there's nothing they can do about it. I'm not going to bother. So it's something that I'm trying to encourage Chief French to address, which is these are reports of crimes. And that's all you can actually put on a graph, of course. But there is some concern perhaps that the crimes are happening, that people have given up on reporting them.
That's a legitimate concern. Again,
Legitimate concerns when you are in control.
sorry, hold on for 1 second. My Alexa wants to chime in on our conversation. All right, sorry about that. So that is a legitimate concern. you can't take the human element out of it. Also, that wouldn't, we're not going to capture in the calls where we show up and the victim is like, I just want to make you aware, and no report number is drawn, right? I believe
Sure.
if you guys are interested, I can run reports for calls for service, which are just whenever anybody calls in, there is a CAD incident that's created, and that would result in the officer responding, regardless of whether a report was taken. This particular report just documents actual crime reports or police reports that are generated. So it is correct that if they don't report it, then we can't quantify it, or it's not going to show up on this report. The other thing is that I get a lot of times, people don't have time to wait around for us, or they feel like they're overburdening us. And especially with catalytic converter thefts, unfortunately, it is rampant throughout the state of California. They've enacted new laws to try and, slow it down. But there isn't a lot we're able to do to recover them because they're not serialized property. They're not readily identifiable. But if you are wanting, especially for your neighborhoods, those stats captured, one of the options is you can go online very quickly and easily make a quick online report. Those online reports are quantified in here because those reports are ultimately brought into our main system. They're turned into a police report, and those would be captured here.
Thank you. I think that the concern of the community is, although you may not be able to track them down,
Mhm.
that since there is less patrol, there might be more of these type of activities happening because people the criminals have less fear of being in the neighborhoods. I see, Elise, I'm going to jump on Jeff's question real quick. Jeff, please unmute.
You're muted, Jeff.
Jeff, you're muted. And Sergeant Patchen, maybe you can take this down so we can see everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.
Are the statistics compared by community?
Those are compared to the Point Richmond Neighborhood Council area. So the Point Richmond area.
But I'm just wondering, is our community have more crime than other communities in Richmond, or less, or do we not know?
That report wouldn't address that. That report is to address the crime trends in your specific area compared to previous months. So month over month, we're not comparing you to, say, the Iron Triangle neighborhoods or a northern district. Those stats are all, again, it's just so trends in your particular geographic area.
Jeff, are you wanting that to be included in future reports?
Well, I think it would be interesting to know, how we're comparing to other areas of Richmond, and if, for example, these auto thefts are jumping around from community to community to community, it would be interesting to know that.
I wouldn't have the ability to compare your neighborhood specifically, or I don't know how to really quantify comparing just your neighborhood to another neighborhood. I don't know if that's it's not comparing apples to apples, if you will, right? If you're looking for what the overall crime trends are in the city, there is crime mapping that's openly available. I can also have a report provided that would basically show crimes throughout the city. I think that's just going to be a little overwhelming with the amount of information you're going to have in that report, right? But if you guys are interested in that, I can provide a report that shows calls for service or reports that are taken. But I think an example would be, if I was to do that, this document is a little more manageable. We can quickly talk about it and discuss it in this forum. Our case numbers start over again at the beginning of the year. We're currently on case number 627. So that graph would contain 627 other cases that you would have to, get through the minutia of it to get the information that you're looking for, if that makes sense.
Do your reports break it down by beat or district?
I can break them down by beat, yes.
So maybe that would be, Jeff, that might be the most readily available thing that we can do. And then they can provide a map that shows the beats as kind of an overview. And what I can do is try and figure out a way with Prnc I can get Buzz to perhaps send out, if Sergeant Patchen gets that to me like a day before. So maybe if we do the cutoff a day before, and then I can get Buzz to mail that out to membership.
Or we could just post it on the website with the other documents.
Yeah. So, and then we would be able to have that and people could review it and come with questions in advance.
And just for clarification, what you guys are looking for is all calls for the last 30 days for the entire department broken down by beat?
Well, I'm personally most interested in my area, but I understand Jeff's question on how do we compare relative to other areas in the city.
What I can double check also is I believe that information is readily accessible already online through the other portals of information to where you can quickly go online. There's hot maps that'll show calls for service. It'll show all that information. It's actually already readily accessible for everybody. But I'll see if our crime analysis unit is able to break it down in that manner.
And then maybe perhaps next time what you could do is a 2-minute tutorial on how to map that for people.
Okay.
And that might be useful for people to go online and do.
Okay.
I don't see any more hands, but I have an idea that I'd like to run by you. After over a year, 2 clearly abandoned cars on my block were towed. Both of them had no tags on them. I'm sorry, one of them is now being red tagged. It has an out-of-state tag that expired in 2001. So clearly dumped. Are you allowed to immediately tow cars that have invalid license tags? Without the red tags?
The law states, so there's two main sections that we tow the cars for. The one is overparked or abandoned on city streets. And that is where the red tag says that you can't leave a vehicle on a city street for longer than 72 hours. Once we apply the tag, then basically that starts the clock. After that 72 hours has expired, we can then legally tow that vehicle. The other authority is expired registration. The vehicle code affords us the ability to tow a car and impound it if the vehicle registration is expired in excess of 6 months and 1 day. So it has to hit 6 months and 1 day expired. Organizationally, we do tend to offer we have a little bit of leeway because we can see when we run the plate, has the fees been paid? Has anybody done anything recently to do something to get the car registered? An example would be, say you didn't have the money, but you did just recently pay all your fees, your car's 8 months expired, but it's not considered registered because it still needs a smog. Well, if we can see, hey, you just paid $400 last month, you're waiting on the smog, we'll probably try and contact you and work with you a little bit more because we can see that you're making an effort to get it done. But those are the 2 big sections that we use for towing cars.
Thank you. This area is a popular dumping ground, as you're aware. I am talking about specific things where we know that these cars are either inoperable or, you know, you're not going to have access to that because they're out of state tags. So I would like to know if the community were to want to email specific problems, could we compile a list of those? And then as the officers are in those areas, if they have time, they can start to try to tow some of those vehicles?
You could. What I can tell you is this, that the backlog for those types of cars right now, I believe it's at about a 3 or 4 month mark. When I started at the department, we had 6 parking enforcement or PERS.
Thank you.
It's a non-sworn position. We're currently staffed with 2.
Thank you.
So we're less than half of where we were. There's been a huge backlog because we basically didn't tow cars during COVID as a courtesy because people were sheltering in place. So that created a bigger backlog. So we're still just kind of, you know, just like as COVID affected everything around us, we're still kind of working through that backlog, trying to move forward. I believe we just hired 1 new parking enforcement person. There is the abandoned vehicle hotline. The other thing that I was going to recommend you guys, are you guys all aware of the City of Richmond app? There is an app that you can download in the App Store for the City of Richmond, and you can report abandoned cars on that app. You can report traffic signals that are inoperable. And the huge benefit to doing it through that app is it creates a ticket at the city level, and that ticket doesn't get closed out until it's resolved by somebody. So if you call in that voicemail number, it might get added to a list, right? Well, that when you use the app, it actually creates a ticket that has to be closed out by somebody who finishes the job or takes care of the issue. So what people don't realize is you might call me for trash and complain about a trash that was dumped, right? 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go out there and I'm utilizing that app to take a picture, because then it goes to Public Works. So it's direct and faster for you guys if you have the ability to download that app and actually utilize it. It's very user friendly, and the response is good.
I've had
So
good
Sergeant
response, and
Patchen-
we'll schedule in a tutorial on that app and how to use it in the next couple of meetings.
Okay.
So should
But
we use it for
mixed
all
reviews.
all the street lights that have been stripped of wire on Railroad Avenue from one end to the other?
Yep, you can. So
Jesse, that problem has been resolved.
Oh, yeah, I don't see lights on.
They were on yesterday. But
On the
I'll go
north
back
side
out
of
after the meeting.
street. Okay,
if I can answer that, that's actually a great question, because the thing is, if you call me at the police department, I'm not an electrician, I can't fix the lights, right? And we kind of are the go-to clearinghouse people. We're the easy button, if you will, right? But if you use the app, that actually goes to the city electrician, it makes them aware of the issue, and it creates a ticket that they have to resolve.
if you guys don't arrest those scoundrels hanging out down across from the back door of the spot, they're gonna just strip it again, guaranteed. That's the bottom line.
Okay.
They are. I know who they are. They're gonna strip it again, and then they strip off the insulation. They load it up in, one of their cars or their little push
I
cars.
will
load it
mention,
up
Jesse,
metal.
that Public Works did install some type of concrete in the bases to hopefully discourage that. So I can have a chat with you about what Public Works told us. You certainly are as sharp as a tack. So, but
Right.
they have tried to address that, and that happened recently.
Okay,
So I
I
put
just
in
get
the
tired of
chat-
nobody ever getting arrested for all this vandalism and theft.
I
That's
put in
all.
the chat a link to last night's city council meeting that you can watch on YouTube. And Chief French, along with other members of her leadership, had a presentation. She gave her monthly crime update, and she discussed in much more detail the changeover in reporting from uniform crime reporting, or UCR, to NIBRs, which we discussed at the Point Richmond Neighborhood Council meeting with Sergeant Patton and a few months ago. And so she went into that in much more detail last night. There was a community meeting about it at 5 o'clock today. And they also gave an update on their mid-year budget last night as well for RPD. And there was a lot of discussion. So if you're interested in hearing those updates, I encourage you to go and watch the video on YouTube, and you can fast forward to the areas you want to see.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks so much, Sergeant Patchen. Go back to your life now. We do appreciate you being here.
No problem. And I can
That's
confirm
one,
the evacuation
two,
order has
three,
been
four.
lifted for
The test
CVU.
of the YouTube.
And the police presence will remain out there till tomorrow around 5 o'clock. That's when they're going to cease. There's one officer that's going to be stationed out there now to kind of answer any questions and still kind of be a visual deterrent as people are returning. But they're allowed to return to their homes, I believe, at this point. And then the official presence will cease tomorrow at 5.
Thank you for standing out in the freezing rain for you and your team. We saw it and we appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank
All right. You guys have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to make up a couple minutes by making the president's report rather brief. I want to let you all know what was going on since we last met, and some of the things that the board has been working on. I did a ride along with Caesar about a week before he was sworn in. He joined me in my car. We had a long meeting. We walked the neighborhood, and then we drove the neighborhood so that I could make him aware of all of the issues that the community has passed on to me. We discussed, I wanted to be able to do that physically so that we weren't talking about maps. And so that Caesar could see in real life what's happening with gridlock concerning trains. I shared some videos about gridlock concerning trains. We drove around the elementary school in that block, looking at the challenges that the elementary school is having as the traffic patterns have changed. We drove up Buena Vista to Scenic, which is an emergency evacuation route. This was happening at approximately the time that the tunnel was closed due to flooding or sewage, whatever that was. So, I want to point out that when we talk about these challenges in our evacuation routes, we're not talking about a worst possible scenario. We have gridlock twice a day. Sometimes the tunnel's also closed, blah, blah, blah. So we address those concerns. I also showed him the evacuation routes in and out of Brickyard Cove, which were punctuated by the fact that the landslide was actually happening at that time. Drove him by Western so we could discuss how emergency vehicles and evacuating vehicles might be affected. So and then showed him some of the areas where vehicles were being abandoned, folks were living in their vehicles, some questionable activity happening around the elementary school concerning people living in trucks. So
Hello there. I do not see the
Mute.
somebody needs to
I
mute.
don't see my picture. I don't see my.
I see you.
Well, I want to see me too.
You have the self mode on, the hide yourself mode.
Where's that?
Try the view button on the top right.
Whatever conversation this is, if you could kindly mute it until we get to see your beautiful face, whoever you are.
Press remote control, annotated, exit full, side by side.
Side view, see side view.
Just side by side mode.
No, that wouldn't be it.
If whoever's speaking could kindly mute until you resolve your camera issue, that would be
Oh,
great.
we do see you here.
Okay.
Okay, so another thing I did is I did meet with the new principal and the PTA president, Leila Damas, who is with Dama with us. It was a preliminary meeting to discuss issues with the elementary school, particularly concerning the cluster mess that is now caused possibly partially by the new traffic patterns on Cutting. It was a very preliminary meeting. He is working with the school district, who has traffic engineers and traffic plans and emergency evacuation plans for the school. My understanding is that the school district does not know that the traffic patterns on Cutting and the egress has changed. So that's to be continued. We will likely have him next month as our guest speaker, but we'll see what comes on. He is enthusiastic about meeting the community and joining the PRNC and discussing issues with the school. Good news is that we received a generous grant from the Gateway Foundation and we'll be renovating the playground at Janus Play Lot. It is the oldest playground in the city of Richmond and might actually be the oldest park. It has extremely dangerous issues with trees and foliage. So we will be hiring a professional tree trimming company to make that safe and healthier. We will be hiring some people to work on a few broken play structures. And then this will all happen in the spring. We will follow through with a neighborhood cleanup day for weeding. Hopefully the city will help us with some mulch. We want to do some painting, polishing and cleaning of the playground equipment, graffiti removal, etc. So I'm working on the professionals, the tree trimming and the repair of the equipment. And then we will announce to the community what that cleanup day is. And we will be requesting an additional grant from the city, a small grant to pay for those supplies. That play lot is historically significant, but right now it's not super safe. It's pretty good, but it will be pretty safe in the next couple months. So I'm really happy about that. I can't not mention the design review board meetings. I don't want to dwell on it too much. Caesar and the city and the PRNC and the LUDRC and everyone in Brickyard Cove has bombarded the city council concerning their questionable way they've been handling these meetings and kind of ignoring our concerns. It's way too complicated to get into here, but the good news is with Caesar's help and probably hundreds of emails to city. The meeting that was scheduled simultaneously with this one by some odd coincidence and would have disallowed members to attend both meetings has been postponed until February 8th. And they have just a couple of days to get out the official notices so that they are compliant with state and city regulations about notices to the homeowners. Lisa deserves a lot of credit for what is really probably 16 to 20 hours a day of working on this alongside. I see a couple of other people, Rod and Bonnie and other people who are on the LUDRC. So it's a very tiny victory, but I'm grateful for Caesar because no one's paid a single attention to anything we said or responded until he's got in the loop. So thank you for working with us. In a little while, when I introduce Caesar, I will mention 5 things that he solicited from each of the neighborhoods. And that was before he was inaugurated. He asked us for 5 little things that he could jump on, not long-term things like Terminal 1 project. And so I'll see if there's any update on that. I am pleased to say that I've had a faster response from him. He was on those things before he was inaugurated. So I think some of the smaller things might already be on their way to being resolved. So we'll discuss those when we come back to Caesar in a few minutes. And that's my report. And next up is Margie with the treasurer's report. Did we lose you, Margie? You're muted. Show me the money, Margie. Still muted. Still muted. Oh. Margie's having technical difficulties or changing her blouse
Okay.
behind that piece of paper, one or the other. Okay.
No, no, 26,800 or 780. And of that, we have restricted of about 7,000.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's pretty strong. We know that the tunnel project, the renewal, the refresh of the tunnel mural is something that we are preparing for because we don't really know in the end how much that's going to cost. So it's a lot of money, but there is some of it that might be a little up in the air right now. Thanks, Margie. Membership report with Buzz.
That's me. So since it's been a while since we've had this report, I can say that over the past 60 plus days, we've had lots of people sending in their dues. We are now approaching 170 people dues paying members. And just to help those that are listening, the new year starts on the 1st of May. So you may be current now, but the 1st of May, we start again. So
we promise to remind you a
thank
lot.
you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Buzz. So we're running a little bit behind, and I think that in the future, just FYI, we'll probably try to schedule in a little more time for RPD because that tends to be a lot of questions and answers there. So we'll try to manage that time a little more carefully. Lisa, your hand is still up. Do you have any questions or is it just always up? Okay. So with that, I am thrilled to have Caesar Zapata join us. He's our new District 2 council member. We have not had a council member officially ever. And I think we've seen the ramifications of that when we watch the city council meetings and our concerns are not represented. So I'm thrilled to have him here. I mentioned the ride along, but I also mentioned that Caesar asked the boards of the local communities to list a few things that were immediate concerns. And this is what our board came up with. And he just got this list officially like 10 minutes ago. So, but some of the things we had casually discussed. One was that we were requesting, and we're not requesting, I want to make clear that Caesar immediately, I dream of Genie himself and make these things happen. But that something happened with my video there. Let's see if I can get me back. The host stopped my video. Buzz, did you do something to me? Don't know. Okay, so anyway, until we see if we can get me back again, I'll continue. But some of the things that we thanks, Buzz. Some of the things that we asked him were just to see if he could reach out to the city and get us answers where after maybe even dozens of emails, the city was not answering back. So the first was an update from the city regarding what was happening in and around the structure on West Richmond at the up and under, and the issue concerning their the sidewalk blocking. The second was a request that we made to the city council for a tri-county meeting regarding adjusting and discussing issues concerning the bike lane. Particularly as it involves the new structure at Prologis, which is will be opening shortly with hundreds of trucks. Prologis is not aware that there's been a change in the traffic patterns there, and Washington Elementary. And that, by the way, I mentioned to Caesar, we were following up on requests from the previous principal and from the PTA to discuss traffic patterns there. I do want to say that I was disappointed in that last December meeting that Mayor Butt actually mocked the three neighborhood councils who had asked for a meeting, not to stop the project or adjust the bike lanes, just for a meeting. And I was disappointed that he ended his illustrious career by mocking those that request for meetings only. That was our only request. The only person from the council who supported us was Nat Bates. And then unfortunately, Mayor Butt mocked 92-year-old Nat Bates and told him that the problem was that Nat needed to get out and ride a bicycle. So it was really disappointing. So we're going to work as neighborhood councils to make this meeting happen, but that was another question. Can we get this meeting with the support of the city? The third was repositioning signage and stenciling at around Mechanics Bank at what is called Gateway Plaza, just to make it safer for the bike riders and the pedestrians. Caesar, I think, has said that that's already in the works. Fourth was to ask, and Caesar just got this list, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, to ask the Planning Commission why they have ceased to request that the LUDRC and the Point Richmond Neighborhood Council are consulted on new projects in our neighborhood. They don't even approach it, nor do they specifically are telling some homeowners or project managers that they should not or do not need to contact us. That has led on, and I'm only can speak from my own eyes, and others can chime in. 3 historic homes that were renovated or built in our area, all of which had glitches and did not go through historic review or LUDRC. And a project that I've had comments from the community on that's happening on Belvedere, an enormous project that the fire department had specific requests for, or specific, what do you call it, a criteria for, that were completely ignored. So even if that department is even ignoring the fire chief, we've got a problem. And that's why the neighborhood council can intercede. We know these things and we can help steer them. And the last is a much more complicated issue, just to kind of look into ticketing, towing, and outreach to people camping. This is on 1st and 2nd Street, which is our neighboring, but the problem goes back and forth from neighborhood to neighborhood. 1st and 2nd Street, which is a neighboring community where these camper vans and people often dumping are going back and forth between Dornan Drive, East Richmond around the elementary school, back and forth to 2nd Street. That's pretty complicated, but it's time for me to let Caesar speak. I just wanted to fill you in on what the PRNC addressed with him.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and for having me. I'm very excited. I have been if I lose my voice, I'm sorry. I'm getting rid of a cold. I have been official for 16 days. And that's when I got sworn in, but I started working way before that, as Philip mentioned. My goal is to work for you. right? I've always been a community person. So one of the first things that I did was in an email to all the neighborhood councils in District 2. And I said, give me 5 things that we can work on in my first 100 days. And they got to be little things that I can work on with city staff, not policy, because policy can take a lot longer. And I'll need my council members to vote with me. So I wanted to do something smallish that we can work on and then build from there. And I've been grateful enough and thankful enough that each neighborhood council has already given me their 5 things. And some of them go from fixing potholes to, they get medium size issues, but all of that is just to understand the community, and we all have our different needs. And that's how I wanted to start off. And I've been in a lot of meetings. I was in a meeting this past weekend with Bicard. And if I can share something there, they introduced me to these kids as the youngest city council member in District 2. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I am the youngest city council member. I'm also the oldest. I'm the everything because I'm the very first one in district elections, right? It's the very first time we have district elections in District 2. So until there is someone else, I'm still the first of everything. So just a little joke there. In all of the meetings that we've been having, one of the first issues that I encountered was the emergency with the Seacliff area. And that is how I got to learn our city manager's cell phone number. Somebody was calling me at midnight, and I thought that it was somebody who was trying to sell me insurance, or, your car is broken, or whatever they sell you at every time and hour of the day. So I didn't pick up, and she kept calling until she finally texted me. And she said, Councilmember Cepeda, it's me. Please pick up. We have an emergency. And that's how I figured out that her phone number. And I immediately got up, dressed, and I drove over where I saw Lisa there. And we were there watching the homeowners get out of their home and being able to be there to provide any assistance. Not that I could do much, but at least I wanted to make sure that I was there for the residents, and that there was anything that I can do to provide, that I was there. The staff had already been working many hours prior to that to making sure that they can evacuate the residents. And again, just as your new representative, I wanted to make sure that I was there for everyone. And that is, again, another little funny story of how I learned the cell phone number for Shasa, for our city manager. And there's a lot of other little stories that I've been able to get as I learn more and meet with more community leaders and the residents all around. In regards to the 5 things, Philip, thank you so much for your time. Our 1 hour meeting turned into several hours, but I learned a lot. And that's what this is about. And I'm meeting with every neighborhood council leader, driving around, having coffee, having lunch, because I don't want to go in and tell you what you need in your neighborhood. I want you to tell me what you need in your neighborhood. And that's what I've been doing. I've also been lucky enough that I'm going to be meeting and partnering with our congressman and our assembly member, Wicks, to share some of our concerns. Our congressman called and congratulated me, and he said, Cesar, let's work. He made up the number 5 as well. He's like, give me 5 things that you need help with. And I immediately thought about some of the 5 things I already started asking my neighborhood councils. And one of them is the train, because from up there is where they'll be able to help. And as we have more and more conversations, even with Councilmember Bana in District 4, right, she's very big in emergency services as well. So how do we partner with other council members and also with other agencies so that we can provide that assistance, and what that's going to look like to be able to help resolve that? Because a short term is working with BNSF, which I have a call out to them, trying to meet with them to talk about the agreement that they cannot be blocking the area for more than 10 minutes. But then beyond that, because we don't know when an emergency is going to happen or how it's going to happen, we need a solution that's going to be more long-term than trusting them to move their trains whenever they've been there for 10 minutes. So working on that, the parklet issue as well. I've been having a lot of conversations with city staff. They're all aware of all of my asks. I have an Excel spreadsheet with all of the community issues and concerns, and that's how I'll be tracking it, and that's what I'll be giving. Public Works Director said he loves it because that's how he works as well. He worked with the spreadsheet, and it's great to be able to keep him on track. Overall, it's about accountability. And I want to make sure that I hold them accountable, but I also partner with the city staff. And today, in the past couple of days, going back and forth about the PG&E project and pushing them to move the date and making sure that people had ample time to be noticed, and also a date that doesn't conflict with this meeting. And we were lucky that at the end they said yes, and they ended up moving it. So little wins here and there. The bike path, the stenciling, I'm working on that as well. Those are fairly small. I have already asked, so you might be seeing some new stencils coming in fairly soon, and through the more drive-throughs. Excuse me. Some of the other issues, or some of the big projects that you're going to be having coming up in your community, is the PG&E site, Terminal 1. Those are the two big ones. And then Point Melody is also in there. That one you'll be getting an update, hopefully within the next couple of weeks or a couple of months. That one I think is a lot more further ahead than the other projects, and hopefully coming into a resolution there. But I'm still learning more about the PG&E site and Terminal 1. And meeting with Picard was really great. And again, I want to be able to partner with you all in coming up with a solution that works best for the community. These two projects, everybody wants to meet about them, but I'm going to be leading with what your needs are. And again, accountability is really big. And I also start some of my meetings with saying, like, I don't know everything. That's how I started the meeting when I went in and I met with the Seacliff residents that were evacuated. I drove down to Emeryville last Friday. I was coming back from Sacramento and for new council training. And then I went right into Emeryville and I met with them. And I let them know, I don't know, but I want to get you the answers. I want to make sure that I bring the people that do know, the experts, to the table. And that's actually what we had. So I was a couple minutes late today because I was just finishing up the other call with them. And we had all city staff there giving them updates on when they can come back to their homes. And the answer is that the emergency order was lifted as of 5 o'clock today. Now, for them to be able to come home is going to be pretty much up to them, and with that information that the city and their HOA will be providing. So that's kind of the good news. You'll be seeing your neighbors coming back within the next couple of days. Some of them might take a little bit longer. We have to turn on the gas and they have to contact PG&E, but little by little, they'll be coming back. And then we'll be working on more information from that hill. But again, I go back to accountability, and from that, I also go back to partnership. I will be working on creating a committee, a District 2 committee that will help advise me. Right, all of you can at any time reach out to me. Email, I'm on email all the time. So I try to respond to everyone as quickly as possible. So you could always reach out with any advice or any comments, but I want to make sure that I have a committee of individuals that I can always go back to and ask them for their expertise, because I don't know everything. You have several individuals in this particular meeting that are experts in a lot of different areas. And those are the people that I want to be able to work with. Lisa, I don't even know what she does. She's got so much information in her head. She's an expert on just about everything. Right? We have experts in a lot of different things, and I want to be able to work with all of you who have that expertise, from Hilltop to Parkchester to Point Richmond to Shield Reeds to Santa Fe. Everyone has an expert in there, and I want to be able to bring them in. As it comes to the budget, same thing. I'm really going to be really big on the budget. If you saw the meeting last night, I was asking to form a budget committee. Budget and budget finance committee, which was put away by then Mayor Butt within his first term. But I think it's important to bring it back because it gives us a little bit glimpse of what's happening, and then we can take the budget into bite sizes. So we're not just working on the budget by June, but we want to take it in bite size and be able to go to the community, get your input, get your feedback. It is your tax money. So we want to make sure that we bring that back around. So I will be posting something, asking for people to volunteer to be part of this committee. I'm still kind of figuring out the roles, but more or less as someone that if you have a certain expertise that I can go to you and say, hey, I want to talk to you about housing. I want to talk to you about parks. I want to talk to you about Terminal 1, whatever it may be, the budget. And then for people to be able to help me read through the agenda as well, and hopefully being able to give me some input on it. The past couple of agendas have been over 1,000 pages. And I'm a quick reader, but that's a lot of pages that I'm trying to make sure that I understand. And luckily, I've been able to meet with residents prior to the meeting, and they've been giving me tidbits about the agenda. So that's been really great. But again, I want to be able to have this committee to being able to partner with the community. So I want to pause there for a moment. And Philip, there's a couple hands up. I want to give an opportunity. I'm here to listen. So if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. But overall, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to be joining your meetings every month, so you'll get to know me more. But if you see me out and about, please let me know. I'm out in the community. If you don't see me, it's because I'm probably on the other side, but I try to be everywhere that I can be. So I want to pause there and take some of the hands here, if I may, Philip. Do you want to call them, or do you want me to call them, or how do we work this?
It looks like we'll just call them in order. I see Don, so I'm going to put him after Norman. Rod?
Yeah, and it's actually Bonnie.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
wanted,
Bonnie?
yes. I wanted to ask Cesar that if he would be interested in coming to one of our land use meetings, particularly about the PG&E site. Rod went through the 104 or 144 report from the staff about that project, and has got a 10-page, 11-page, 14-page response to all of the concerns and issues. There's quite a bit about it that is kind of under the radar for most people. But Rod has the expertise to look at this. So if you would like a copy of that, he can also email it to you.
I believe you received one today, Caesar.
Perfect. Yes, and I will definitely welcome the opportunity to meet. As
Okay.
much information as I can get, I'll take it.
Okie doke. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Cordell, you're muted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so Caesar, one of the things that I have noticed is, okay, I one question, and I'll give you, so what are you envisioning for economic development? What kind of things are you planning on seeing in Richmond? That's it.
Thanks, Cordell. So I am lucky enough that I am actually going to be on the Economic Development Commission. I did ask to be on that, and it was up to the mayor to appoint us. So I was lucky to be appointed to that. So I will be meeting with the commissioners and with the director to come up with a plan. But overall, we need more revenue into the city. We need to bring in more business. And again, I want to be able to partner. And from that partnership, I'll be able to come up with a better plan to see what we have going on currently and what tools and resources they need to make sure that we bring in that economic development. I know that for sure, one thing that we need is people picking up the phone and returning phone calls, especially on the people that want to come back or do business in Richmond. That was a very big complaint throughout my past couple of campaigns. People want to come into Richmond, but we don't always return their phone calls. So they end up going to another city. The process to get their permits has a lot of red tape and is very time intensive. So we want to see what we can do to shorten that. What can we do to provide the resources to the city staff so that way they can pick up the phone and that we can take that tax revenue into Richmond. So that's going to be one of the things. But again, I want to be able to partner and be able to listen to see how we come up with a better plan and continue bringing that revenue there. So thank you, Cordell.
Thanks. Graham.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, good. Caesar, first of all, thanks for coming. My concern is we've just received on the ocean, on the bay side of the point, a circuit coming around about the notification of the Keller Beach Patient Feasibility Study. And
Graham, I'm so sorry. I lost you there. I don't know if anybody else is, but it's something about feasibility study, but for which project, I'm sorry?
For the Keller Beach sanitary sewer relocation feasibility study.
Okay.
Now, this is the first that we've heard of this. And it seems as though what they're going to want to do is to replace the old sewer line that actually runs along the waterfront itself. And they want to bring it inland by going around and digging up all the roads, starting from Ocean Avenue and going all the way Ocean Avenue, Grandview Court, Cliffside, and then Western, all the way down to Keller Beach. Well, first of all, this is going to be horribly expensive. And when I asked who was going to pay for it, there really wasn't much of an answer. And secondly, there seems to be some confusion as to exactly where it's going to go, on which streets and which houses are going to be impacted. And of course, many of these houses, these streets are on dead ends. And thirdly, we haven't been consulted about this at all. This is the first we've heard about it. There's been no attempt to get any community feedback from us. And so I'm wondering if you can sort of intercede and turn around and approach, I believe her name is Jacqueline Majors, and get her to send out a detailed outline of exactly what's happening and give us some idea as to what's involved and when it's going to start, which properties are going to be affected, and how much it's likely to cost.
Graham, thank you for that. I have made that note. I will touch base with the city manager. I don't have more information, but I'm assuming Veolia is involved with this. So I will follow up on that there for you.
And Public Works, Caesar, that's under Daniel Chavaria.
Daniel, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, and I know that he's been looking at the Veolia contract, and so have I, and because I've had some questions on it, but I will get back to you all in regards to this particular project and making sure that there's feedback, community feedback before they move forward.
Okay, fine, because Western Drive is the main road through the point here. And they're going to be digging that up for what, months, years? You're going to talk about another traffic problem here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Graham.
Thank you, Graham. Norma Jean.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just speechless about that last report. Okay. Yes, thank you. So my overarching concern, and Caesar, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate your involvement already. So my overarching concern is that I don't have any, you have to call it faith at this point in the city staff to be able to follow through on any commitments that they make to the community. This new pipeline project, I mean, people are just moving home from a potential landslide or land that did slide. You can't just go cutting into a hill and relocate this. Okay, so, and we don't have, somehow or other, the city of Richmond lost all its engineering staff. So I worked for a local engineering company. That's crazy. That means there's no one on staff that understands how to, that's approving the invoices from the consultants that are doing the work. So, but more to the point, the particular project that I've been following since I heard about it shortly after I moved here only 20 years ago was Frogtown at the corner of Canal and Cutting. And I heard stories from the old timers who had grown up here that kids used to row a rowboat from their homes further east across the marsh to get to Washington Elementary in high tide because it was a wetland. Years go by, the city grows, they destroy the shell mound, Canal and Cutting is there, they build this development Wareham Development in San Rafael owns it. And there in the early 80s, maybe 80, 81, there is a contract with a mitigation plan agreed to restore the seasonal, the Army Corps identified seasonal wetland. By the time I started asking enough details to get to someone who could ask for paperwork, I was told that the city had lost the original file. So they can't hold the developer to any agreement about mitigation. And the most recent detriment to the whole farcical project is that they're spreading wood chips in this area so that it's being filled with wood chips. But anyways, if the city lost a contract for this little patch of land that's in front of everyone's noses, why would we have any confidence that they would be able to manage something like Point Malate, which is not under anyone's nose? I would have grave concerns about Terminal 1, anything that's agreed to as far as the environment is concerned. I just, yeah. And I have notes and, don't take notes. And I have tickets that I opened up with the Richmond app on concerns. Phil Rosenthal reminds people when I start posting about this, that this is the company that started to dump contaminated soil on the property, trying to do it undercover. They got found out. So this little property, I walk by it almost every day, so I see it and I see what's happened to it, and it's just really sad to me, and it just shows the city can't manage their way out of a paper bag. I'm so sorry.
Norma, I think it's such a complicated issue that it might be something that we can pick up. It's not, we don't really have time to discuss this history, but I remember it. And I know that Jesse West has some, I believe, institutional knowledge. The Butt family probably does as well. So I think that's something that I'm glad you brought up. I'm with you, and I remember what the promises were to the community. So hopefully that's the type of thing we can address with Caesar kind of off screen. And then come back at a later meeting and have an update on that. Would that be a good idea?
Oh, sure. I was not bringing this up so much to ask for help with this particular project, although, who God could help. But to put the bug, Caesar, in your ear about the city has had contracts about sensitive land right here, which they not only didn't force to be honored, they lost. So they need to be held accountable for any promises they've made in the past before they start going forward with new things like digging up a street to put pipes. I mean, this does not sound like anything but a nightmare to me. And then generally speaking, I think as an environmental justice issue, very briefly, we've all heard of dark sky communities. Richmond would get the prize for a bright sky community. From the Bay Bridge, you can see the bright white lights coming from Richmond. And I'm not sure if it's a little BNSF or BART but there is a string of pearls to the northeast of my house, looking directly northeast. I don't know who it is. But why can't anybody look up and see stars, except that this is egregious? And the highway patrol or Caltrans is like, no, we have to have lights. And that's okay. Thank you for coming and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you. Well, maybe we can work together on that so I can learn more about it.
Thanks. We're going to jump over to Dawn, who is next, and then we'll pick up with Kathleen, Joe, Rod, Jeff. We are running late. Let me know if you object. I predicted this would run late. Part of it's my fault because I'm long-winded. And Peter's going to beat that out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, you aren't alone. Something simple. If you want to know what's going on out at Terminal 1, get in your car and go out there and talk with the guys. They're out there tearing down that little pump house now. Had you heard that? They have shut down the road. You now have to make a sharp left out there. You can't swing through. And heaven only knows how it's going to be when they actually start to build the homes. Because they have to remove rail, they have to remove concrete, they have to remove that old, whatever it is out there on the point. And nobody seems to have an answer to that. Talking with city staff just get you what you heard tonight, blah, blah, blah. If you want to know what's going on, go out there and talk with the guys that are doing the job.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tom.
Tom.
Kathleen and or Joe? You're muted, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you. We live within sight of the Long Wharf. And the electrification of the Long Wharf in order to diminish or stop the 24/7 burning of diesel fuel out there is a big concern. We learned when they wanted to do the modernization project, the amount of carcinogens that get spewed into the air from the wharf. They've been looking into it, and the rumor that we have is that there's a plan not to electrify the wharf, but to vacuum the emissions. And I wonder if you, Cesar, or Phil, the PRNC, can get some details on where that stands. The vacuum plan sounds like something else that will make for additional noise pollution. So that's my contribution.
And I have a question for Caesar that you can answer very briefly. Welcome to the Neighborhood Council, Caesar. Congratulations on your victory. When will the city council be meeting with the public in person?
Great question, Joe. So the emergency order that allows us to meet virtually ends at the end of February. So in March, the first meeting in March is when you'll have city council be meeting in person.
As well as Zoom? Is it a hybrid?
That is what we're hoping for. I know that right now they're working on it. I let them know. I really like what the city of El Cerrito has in their hybrid mode. So that's what looks like that's what they're gonna try to copy as well. So making it hybrid and then having the city council members be in person as well as some of the staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then Kathleen, I'm going to, I wrote that down. And then maybe I'll chat with Philip a little bit more to get me some more information about that and see how I can who I can go after and get some answers.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Are we on Rod or on Jeff? I lost track.
Jeff's older, he can go first.
All right, Jeff, it's all you.
Is it me?
It's you.
Yeah.
You're too kind, Rod. Well, first, what Graham and Norma brought up, is just totally frightening for people who live on Western with the sewer line right outside our windows, and the possibility that some of the cost is going to fall on us. So I just want to reiterate what a huge issue that is. And a lot of us, have been visited by Jacqueline Majors to discuss that there's a community meeting coming up. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm on the Human Rights Commission, and the United States is the only country that hasn't signed on to the human rights of the child. So we've been talking in the commission to going to the schools and working with students to see if students want to make drawings or in other ways get to work on this. And it would be great to have your help, maybe to go to Washington School or other schools in the neighborhood. I'm not sure how many schools fall under your jurisdiction, but you know, being a young leader, and even though that you're the oldest leader, you have you know, so much to offer these young students. So I would really like to work with you on that. If it sort of sounds like you're going to have such a full plate that I don't know where there's ever going to be room for all these things on your plate. But human rights is something that we would really like to bring more to the students in Richmond.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, count me in. I've met with your school board member a couple of weeks ago to talk about Washington. Washington is the only elementary school in District 2. And then we have a few charters, or I should say non-charter schools. And then we have a few charters up at Hilltop. But regular school, we have only Washington. So yeah, I will have to help out. I'm going to be meeting with the principal there as well to talk about the bicycle paths and others, so time will be made. And this is a very important topic as well.
You the man.
Thank you. Count me in.
Thank you. And now's the time to put your hands up. We're running a little bit late, and we're going to hear from Rod and Bonnie.
Yep.
And then try to get back on schedule a little bit if possible.
Okay, so this time it's Rod. When I was president of the neighborhood council, that's when the Frogtown was going through its wetland restoration stuff, and I do have mental recall of what was there. I don't think I've saved all my documents from the early 90s or mid 90s. But I was also on land use, but I was president, and I was in direct conversations with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the engineer that was responsible for that. Norma, I said on Nextdoor, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does 404 permits, which is wetlands, and it's not a city responsibility, but I can help provide knowledge on that in the future. And as far as just a brief note, Baykeepers put a lawsuit against the city of Richmond for the leaking Kelly Beach pipeline. And this is a response that we're seeing now for those. So this has been going on for 20 years. So I'll stop. That's all I need to say. But I can be reached, and Norma, you can find me and get back to me on that.
Rod, thank you for that
Please.
institutional
Thank you.
knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
Any last minute questions before we get back on on schedule?
Something quick. Did you get that?
Don?
Yeah. What's going to happen to that pipe that's on the wall of the tunnel? That temporary big hose that's on the wall of the tunnel. What's going to happen to that?
Don, if that's for me, I don't know. I can inquire about it.
Yeah, that's been up there now for about 6-8 months. It's got steel plates on the street at each end, and it's obviously temporary. Why is it there, and what's going to happen to it? Somebody should be able to give us an answer on that.
John, would you kindly email that question? And Lisa seems to probably have the answer.
Okay,
Lisa?
thank you.
Don, are you referring to the pipe that they just put along that little ledge that
That's
came
right.
up with that? Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago, and that's because they had a rupture. Veolia had a pipeline rupture, and they did that while Veolia is trying to figure out the plan to fix that break. So that's a public works question, Caesar, that Daniel is going to have to comment on. And I don't know if Veolia has yet provided that work plan yet.
It just looks like, I don't know, a kind of happenstance thing, and it's very sad to see.
But the benefit, I will say this,
Yep.
If they couldn't get it to stand up on that ledge like they were able to do, they were going to have to keep the tunnel closed, because otherwise, because it was a one-way in or out with controlled traffic if it was only down to one lane. So the fact that they were able to get that kind of temporary pipeline in there to divert it allowed them to keep the tunnel open for public safety ingress and egress issues.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your questions. Caesar, do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I put my email on the chat there. I can enter it again. But if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please reach out. I really want to be able to work with everyone in the community. We have a lot of concerns and questions coming up, and I'm taking them all and trying to work with city staff. We're getting to know each other little by little, but now I have my laptop, and my email is working. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't have it yet, but now I have my password and I'm in there. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone. And again, please reach out. You're going to see me around for at least the next 4 years. So let's be friends. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Caesar.
you very much. I appreciate you being here. Let's move on to our community briefs. Charmaine is out. Is there anybody here from CERT? Charmaine is basking in the glorious glow of Mar-a-Lago. She's in Palm Beach. Nobody from CERT today? PRBA, I see Karen's here to speak for the PRBA. Hi, Karen.
Hi. Okay, so the PRBA is planning to bring back our monthly luncheons with speakers. And so we're planning to have one in February on February 22nd, which I think, is that actually the same night as the PRNC next meeting? Anyway, we're going to have them at the Hotel Mac, the empty dining room of the stained glass room. And we're still trying to decide on which speaker to get. It might be one of our Richmond's finest, Sergeant Patchen or Lieutenant Dishes, to talk about crime, if that's of interest. Anyway, we're back in business and we're having a general membership meeting and as well as a luncheon meeting in February. Okay, thank you.
How does the Hotel Mac work out? Is
Well,
somebody-
they're opening up the certain areas of the closed restaurant for community groups. The Arts of Point Richmond had their holiday party in the same the stained glass mezzanine dining area.
Yeah.
That's available. The banquet room is also available, but whoever's renting it has to provide everything like linens and bring your own catered food. Our luncheon's going to be catered by Josephine at El Sol, who's also on the PRBA board with me. So, and if you have questions about using the Hotel Mac restaurant areas, you can talk to Desiree Hevereau, the innkeeper.
Great, thanks for that report. Bonnie Jo, are you? I don't see Bonnie. If Bonnie isn't here, is there anybody here from History Association this time? Okay, nothing to report, I guess. Arts of Point Richmond. Mary Lee? Sorry, we got, there you are.
Hi. I think the latest is Margie was going to be doing the report, but I can tell you what I know, and that is that we're getting ready. We're all the artists are submitting images for a brand new Taking It Outdoors. So we're going to have a new banner project going up around town. We got a wonderful grant from the Foundation help with that, and to help also the Washington School taking it outdoors. A wonderful program bringing arts into the school, funding for materials and mentoring kids in art. And they'll have their own banner project, and we're putting up a whole new gallery show at Laura's Fine Dining, which is actually Marina Bay, but anyhow. Yeah, so we're busy in doing and making art. And of course, Marky Sullivan with her wonderful new gallery is actually we're busy thinking about submissions for a special show there. So Margie, over to you. I don't have anything to say about that. So it's wonderful.
Fantastic. You're muted, Margie.
That happens April 8th, and we're going to have an art stroll. Talk about that later.
Fantastic. It was great last year. Thanks, Margie. Kate, do you have any news or updates on the Magic Lantern?
I think we might have lost Kate. I don't see her anywhere.
Yeah, I don't see her. Okay. I also don't see Chrissy, but I was wondering if Layla, if you're still here, if you have anything to mention on Pram. I think you're on that board as well as everything else. Did we lose Layla?
No.
Okay,
I'm here.
Layla
I'm
has-
here.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
I'm here. Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm Layla Dima. I'm on the board for Pram, as well as the president of the PTA at Washington Elementary. For Pram, I think we're doing okay. I noticed that there has been a tree kind of leaning a bit that we've been concerned about. I brought it up to Philip the other day. We walked by. I'm just, something to keep an eye on, because that's a community building and there's a lot of families that obviously attend with their children for parties and after school programs and during the day. So, just much like the landslides on the other side of the hill, we're just concerned with the saturation of these older trees. And then this one has a really big lean on it. So if someone could maybe I've also reported it to the app, the Richmond app, a couple times and photos, but haven't seen anyone address it yet. Otherwise,
Layla, if you reach out to me, I'll assist you in going directly to the head of the Parks Department, and at least they can determine if it's stable.
Okay. Otherwise, yeah, Pram is still functioning, and we should be having our meeting also, I believe, next month.
Fantastic.
And that's it.
Thank you. I know there's a lot on Brickyard Cove. Does Lisa or anyone else want to speak briefly about the HOAs there? Or is it just so much? Lisa Johnson?
I think Lisa must have stepped away from her computer.
Anyone else want to speak on behalf of the HOAs? I think there's so much there that could be a whole other meeting. Okay, so let's pass
Lisa,
up.
you were away, but Phil was asking if the HOA wanted to speak.
Oh, I think like he gave an update already on the PG&E, right? In Terminal 1, there's a proposed city council meeting to discuss this issue February 7th at the city council meeting to decide whether or not they're going to accept an amended LDA, which is the land developer agreement, disposition agreement. So that's coming up on February 7th, and there's still active negotiations going on between B-Card in discussions between B-Card and the city and the developer. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Lisa. And I just want to mention that Lisa texted me concerning what's happening on Dornan Drive and Brickyard Cove Road. And it appears to be a public works project and not, am I correct that I understood, not related to the Terminal 1
It's related
development?
to that ferry pump station. And it's Veolia and Veolia's contract with the city of Richmond, so it's technically owned by the city. And that's who is in charge of that.
But it's unrelated to the development.
Correct. That all has to, it is part of that proposed development, but that needed to be redone anyway, regardless.
So they're
of-
fixing something broken, bottom line. Okay,
It needs to be revamped, yes.
thank you so much. Nothing from the LUDRC. As I mentioned to Caesar, they don't talk to us. The city doesn't talk to us much anymore. Let's go on with the community briefs. Anything from maskers? I see Fran. Hi, Fran.
Okay, I've unmuted. Thank you so much. It's been a very interesting meeting. The maskers, you know, we were shut down by COVID and then we opened up with Amelie. It was a wonderful production and we got all kinds of praise for that particular production. Our next show is And Then They Were None, and it opens up, I've got so many papers here on my desk. And Then They Were None. It opens up this Friday, January 27th at 8 p.m. That's all I can say. It's going to run for 4 weekends and then it will be down and then the next show will come on. So we're very happy to be back in business and y'all come.
Love us some Agatha Christie. Cordell, are you going to mention what's going on? Thank you, Fran. What's going on with the coordinating council? I know there's.
Yes.
There.
Yes. So can you hear me now, Phil?
Yes, sir.
So at this month's RNCC, we had a swearing in ceremony for the new board members. So we normally we would be in person, but due to COVID, it was like we had to do it virtual. So everyone had a good time. There was about at least, I want to say about 20 so people on Zoom. So it was pretty well attended. So got some new officers. So I'll skip down to the part. So for this month we had let me find that agent. Norton to talk to us about the Contra Costa County election. So I thought it was pretty interesting. So that's one. And then the second presenter we had Justine Burt to talk to us about the New Deal regarding cannabis. So that was interesting. And old business, none. The new business is the annual dues. It is due. All the neighborhood councils are required to, like send out the annual dues and as well as the bylaws for the RNCC. And let's see, our next meeting would be February the 13th, which is the day before Valentine's Day on the 14th. So it's at 7 p.m. via Zoom, and I'm hoping that the RNCC will come back in person too, because I'm like, this is too much. So any questions from the membership about the RNCC? Yes, Peter.
Do you have a new president?
Yes, Arto, A-R-T-O. His last name is Rinteela, R-I-N-T-E-E-L-A.
L-A?
L-A, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, Jesse.
Did you talk about when we might be able to start meeting in person again, the various neighborhood councils?
Actually, we have some neighborhood councils have done do a high one particular neighborhood council has done in person, and for me, Park Plaza, we're doing a hybrid format. So anyone else?
Don, did you have a question for Cordell?
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm sorry, Rod, your hand is up.
No, it's actually, and I'm typing away now, but the issue was that the land use was contacted through Charmaine just before she went away to have a meeting with the PG&E developer. That meeting has not been set yet. It might be moot if they're going to have the meeting with the Design Review Board for the City of Richmond on the 8th of February, but that is the only thing. They finally did reach out to us. So that's what I wanted to say. And I'm going to put on this contact the email address that I've just set up for people that want to reach out to the Land Use Committee.
Thank you so much, Rod. I appreciate it. Next is Richmond Tennis. Gary and Maren are moving back into their house tonight or tomorrow. And so they are not presenting today. They're getting out of that hotel and back home. Graham, any news for the Red Oak victory? Graham? We can hear you.
No, he's muted.
Graham, will you unmute, please?
There we are. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Good, great, thank you. Well, first of all, the Red Oak Victory managed to survive Christmas. And so we're still open on our winter schedules at the moment, which is just on Sundays. So please come and visit us between 10 and 3 o'clock when you, if you've got nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon, and then you can go over and finish the afternoon over there at Riggers Loft. We are on schedule to start our pancake breakfast, probably starting in April. And I'll let you know about when those are organized and the particular dates when they're all finalized. But in the meantime, please drop by and see us on Sundays. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. I see Diana's here from Women's West Side. I know
Yes.
you have news for us.
Yes, thank you. Before the holidays, Bruce Facetto and Leslie Hicks delivered 21 welcome gift bags to our new Richmond residents. The bags are wonderful, filled with maps of the point, baked goods and brochures, and very informational and invited to join our group. And also in December, Laura Choi provided her lovely home for a delicious holiday luncheon, as members were greeted with Christmas heart music by Diana Stork. We are filled with gratitude. So we received the Gateway Foundation grant to start our work on the library garden project, beautifying the location on Park Avenue. And so we are in the process to making connections with the city, who's putting in the irrigation. And so we're looking forward to that spring project. Also, the map garden, grapevine pruning. I have Philip, Gary, and Peter on board. Have you decided when that would be convenient and I could come help clean up?
I've been swamped and Gary's been dislocated. So maybe Peter and I and a couple of other able-bodied gardeners can get together in the next week or so. Peter,
Sure.
I'll touch
Just
base
give
with
me
Peter.
Just give me a day's notice.
That's great. So let me know and I'll be happy to come and help clean up.
I've got all the supplies, so that works great. And I live around the corner, so that's super.
Okay. And then in closing, our next meeting is February the 7th at 11:15. And it's a brown bag lunch. And we're having a guest speaker, Susie Hart from the Hidden City Ballroom. So thank you.
She's great. Thank you. Cordell, did you have a question for one of the community members?
Yes, I was gonna ask Graham, what movies that are upcoming, let me rephrase that, what upcoming movies are in the works?
Cordell, at this stage, I don't think we've got anything planned. We're still worried about, first of all, attendance and being able to get people down on the ship, volunteers on the ship to be able to sort of man the movies. But I'll follow up on that for you, and at the next meeting, I should have something slightly more definitive.
Thank you, Graham, and thanks for your question, Cordell. Tennis.
Table
Peter.
tennis, ping pong.
Table tennis.
Yes, so we hold it at the Point San Pablo Yacht Club on Cutting on Mondays from 5 to whenever. And we had about 6 people this Monday. So participation is growing back, coming back from the holidays. And Andrew, if you're still on anywhere, you're more than welcome to come back and play, but especially now that you're a member of the club. But I will say that Dave Bleckinger, our past vice president, is back in town from Australia. They moved there, and he stopped by and played. And he said he'll try to make it back next Monday too. He's here for another month or so while he even though Megan moved, Chevron moved her to Perth, Australia. Dave still has to work a couple more months before he can officially retire at, I don't know how old he is, 45 or some ridiculously young thing like that. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Everybody should stop by. Drinks are cheap. We've been playing a lot of doubles, which is a lot of fun for people who aren't very good at ping pong. They get better. They just get better. Everybody laughs. So anyway, that's it.
Thanks, Peter. And I see by accident, we're actually running on time because the updates that we intended to discuss were what the board was doing. And I did that at the beginning. So we can drop that 10 minutes out unless anybody has questions for the board members.
I had something for open forum.
Okay, well, we'll just check. Any last minute questions for the board members? Okay, that's where that 10 minutes went to. I'm so proud of myself for accidentally doing something right. So we have Cordell for public forum. Raise your hands if anyone else would like to speak. What do you have, Cordell?
Well,
Yeah,
hang on.
so,
excuse me. I have a question for the board members, but I can't unmute myself in 7 milliseconds. So
Okay, that's
may
fine, Jesse. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to know when we will start meeting in person again, and if we can do hybrid when we do.
At this point, the general consensus is, although there are a handful of people who prefer the live meetings, the Zoom meetings have been more successful. And we are not yet equipped to do hybrid. It is something we're looking at, whether or not there will be a possibility for us to do it. Attendance at the meetings is substantially higher via Zoom. But we hope to be able to figure out whether or not, particularly with younger folks with children who want to enter the PRNC, so a lot of people can't leave their children for a few hours in the evening. So I don't know many people who love Zoom, but it has been a successful tool. So Lisa and I are going to talk about that a little more with the board. We will put it on our agenda for the upcoming board meeting to see if we can figure out a way forward and to technically accomplish a hybrid meeting. I don't think that we'll, at this point, the board members, our discussions have not included eliminating Zoom. So it would.
No, I don't
probably
want you to
hybrid.
eliminate Zoom, but hybrid would be great. And if you want an example of how to do it really well, talk to the Methodists. They've really got it down at this point. Okay, thank you.
I will. Maybe we can.
Yeah.
They can help us. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, we were back with Cordell, and then we have Sally and Karen.
Yeah, so and I was just about to bring that up too. So so I'm gonna have to scratch that one off the list. So I do have a couple of ideas for future agenda topics. So as I mentioned during
would you email them to me, Cordell?
Of course. So
thanks.
And then yes, I did have an idea though for let me see. The idea came to me. So I was thinking that if we I just lost my train of thought. Okay, and I just remembered. So the reason I brought up the idea of going back to doing like a hybrid format is because I know other neighborhood councils have done this method, and I said, if other neighborhood councils can do hybrid, I think the PRNC can do the same, because it's an idea that I've been advocating for like for the longest. And I said, because cases of COVID has gone down significantly in the last 30 days. And I'm like, wow. And so hopefully that we'll be able to see each other in person, hopefully, which is, I doubt that. And then this is a future agenda item, and I'll send the rest to you, Phil. So the idea, I was thinking that if we would invite, Justine Burt to come and talk to us about the new deal that the city is working on, regarding cannabis, because that was an idea because she gave a presentation to the Economic Development Commission this month, and I said, oh, maybe I can run this by Philip to see what he thinks about inviting her to come to either next month or March, whichever is convenient for the membership. That's it.
We do have scheduled speakers for the next couple meetings, but we can, we can certainly take a look at how that affects our neighborhood and see if we can invite her. Thank you, Cordell.
Okay, no problem.
Philip, I unmuted myself to suggest to you, Pastor J.C. sets up the hybrid for our church meetings, and she could help you set up a hybrid for neighborhood council.
I will reach out to her. I will say, quite honestly, because we have so many seniors, perhaps because we have so many seniors, we still have a lot of resistance to open meetings. So that's something we're going to need to discuss and poll the membership for. So that may actually be a formal vote, but it also depends on the board being able to execute it. So we've got a lot on our plate right now. This is a particularly busy time, but I think we should consider it and continue to see if we can make that happen. Thanks, Fran. I don't know her, but she's got a great reputation, and I will ask you to introduce us over coffee someday. Thank you, Fran. Sally, thanks for waiting patiently.
Oh, no problem. So I just want to make a brief announcement that Point Malate has river otters. And so the next talk in the speaker series, Speaking Up for Point Malate, which they're Mondays from 6 to 7, will be about river otters by the Megan Isadora, who's executive director of the River Otter Ecology Project. And I pasted this information into the chat along with the link that you need to register. So thanks very much, and I hope you'll all come.
That's happy news.
And
Thank you.
to Sally's point, some of you may know Sue and I live on a floating home at Point San Pablo Marina, and we have an otter that lives under our house occasionally, or maybe a couple of them, and we've got photos of them frolicking on the docks here. I haven't seen any lately, but I know last year we had a few of them hanging around. They tend to come and go, with the season. So
thanks, Peter. I'll come by and you can pour me a refreshing adult beverage, and I'll watch the otters with you guys.
All right.
I know where you live. Karen, I think you had the last of our open forums.
Just want to indulge in some shameless self-promotion for my comedy show. Invite everybody here. It's Mondays. It's fun. It's family friendly. And on February 6th, it's gonna be literally family friendly because I've got 2 mother and son comedian duos on the lineup. So,
Karen, is this ongoing on Mondays?
Yeah, it's every Monday, 5:30 to 7 o'clock at Kaleidoscope Coffee. And on February 6th, we're going to have a 9-year-old trying out some stand-up comedy. His mommy's a comedian, and so he wants to emulate his mommy. So
thanks, Karen. If you remember just before the next meeting, like 10 days before the next meeting, shoot me that information. I'll include it in the president's letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Just
Karen,
for
it was
publicity.
really, really fun. You got some great comedians last Monday. I laughed my butt off.
Yeah.
And then we all went over to the Baltic Kiss for their open mic and that was wonderful comedy and musicians and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I had last Monday, the 23rd, I had a contingent from Sacramento, the SAC Pack. And so they also did sets at Baltic Kiss. So it was a great night for entertainment in good old Point Richmond. That's
fantastic. We had several reports of a spotting of Jesse's rear end on the sidewalk. So now we know why.
And Phil, I've been to Karen's comedy show. I'm telling you, it is a hoot every time. It's like, whoo.
Well, that sounds great. Karen's a shrinking violet, so I'm sure it's fantastic. All right.
I'm wearing shrinking violet today.
So now we will ask if anybody has any remembrances or celebrations. Well, celebrations are always fun, but the fact that we don't have any remembrances is a good way to start the year. I do want to take that celebration to thank the city staff and emergency responders and Caesar who helped out in the freezing rain 24 hours a day to help our neighbors in Seacliff. Karen, did you have a
Yeah,
remembrance?
I have a celebration because my mother is turning 89 on Monday, and she's going to be a special guest of honor at my Monday comedy show. So.
Okay, well, that's fantastic news. Congratulate her for us. Ladies and gentlemen, not only are we ready to adjourn, but surprisingly, by some miracle of good luck, we are 5 minutes early in adjoining. This has been a busy meeting. I thank Caesar 100 times for being present here, and you are always welcome to crash these meetings. You're part of our neighborhood as well now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Phil. You pulled it off. I don't know how that happened.
It's a mistake.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Hey, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
All right.
Yep.
Or I guess in your case, Peter, it was to don't let the otters bite, but he's already off.
Bye.
Some of us are still here and giggling, Lisa.
I know. It's you and me, Buzz. How'd the Warriors do tonight?
I don't know. I don't know.
I need to check
I've
the
been in a meeting.
I know. Let me see what the score is. I'm sure they lost. You know, they've just. They should still be playing because they're at home. So let's see what the Warriors score is. It is. Yep, we're losing 96-90, but there's 10:48 left in the game.
Oh, that's plenty of time, as they like to
Yeah,
say.
but they were up by 17 against Brooklyn and they still lost. You know,
Yeah, well,
they kept the bench in for goodness sakes because they were winning. So anyway, okay.
Oh well.
All right. Well, go Warriors. Let's
That's
hope we
it.
can pull it off.
That's
Okay.
it.
Good night.
Go watch. Enjoy the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.